Yo, what is going on, guys, and welcome back to a new video. Today I want to talk to you guys about something that I think personally is pretty important for competitive Valorant and competitive gaming in general, and that is toxicity and toxic teammates. And I know I'm not the only one who's having problems to deal with toxicity and toxic teammates, and I know how many games are ruined because of it, and everyone is having problems reaching their desired rank or just having a successful grind because of toxicity and toxic teammates. So today I want to show you what I've been doing and just my tips on how to make it a bit easier and not focus on the toxicity so much. And just some ways in which you can deal with this toxic stuff that you have to face in solo queue all the time. So yeah, I really hope you enjoyed the video, guys. So first of all, I want to talk about something that everyone can do to stop potential toxicity from even happening. And this is a huge mistake I see so many times. Even players in my rank in Immortal, they won't communicate at all. And there's like an easy thing everyone can do to just make the game like enjoyable for everyone else, and at least more enjoyable than it is anyway. So the thing I'm talking about is start the communication. You see, the thing is, people get annoyed pretty fast if no one is giving information or calling out, even if they don't do it themselves. If no one else is giving them information or calling out for them, they get annoyed by stuff like that so fast that it can develop a toxic atmosphere pretty fast early into the game. So what I advise you guys always, before the game starts and once you load into the map, always start off the game with the yo, what's up, or hey, what's going on, guys. Even if they don't talk back to you, they know they have someone who's giving information, and maybe like even if there's just a potential chance that they get less annoyed by it, like it's a win. Because if they know they have someone who's communicating, they won't get annoyed as fast as if they know there's like literally no one talking, because I know how annoying it can be if no one is talking. If you just give them like a feel of like you being the guy who's giving information and you being the guy who's talking, this alone can make such a huge difference. Knowing that someone is talking and giving information can have such a huge impact on the way people deal with the teammates. So even for me, if I know people are talking, or at least someone is talking, I'm a bit more relaxed, and I know that I have at least someone who's communicating. And even I get pretty annoyed fast if no one is communicating at all. You don't have to have a deep conversation when you're playing. All you need to do is just giving them, hey, what up, guys, or yo, what up, in the beginning of the game or even before the game starts, just so they know there's someone who's talking at least, or there's someone who's giving information. Because trust me, people get stressed out so much if no one is talking, and if they have the feeling of no one is playing with them. And being the guy who actually is giving information, or at least making them know that you're willing to communicate, can prevent so much toxicity from happening. So that's my first advice for you all. Initiate communication once the game starts, just to let your teammates know that there's someone who's communicating. So second of all, what is now the main issue here is when people actually start to get toxic. We've talked about what you can do to prevent toxicity from even happening, but once people start to get toxic, that's a whole nother issue. So once people start to get toxic, you have to differentiate between what is actually just being passive aggressive and being annoyed at teammates, and what is just straight up garbage toxicity that is just annoying and doesn't help anyone. annoys the hell out of you. So my second point is to differentiate between someone who's just pissed because he's having bad games and someone who's you know, straight up toxic and isn't productive at all. And what I mean by that is, take the first case for example. I've encountered so many people that are just being pissed because they lost like 2 or 3 games, and they start talking to you in a passive aggressive way, which makes you angry, and then you continue to make him angry, and from there it's just a back and forth which doesn't lead anywhere, but the only thing that achieves is to make both of you pissed. So what I usually try to do, and that is so important, if I see I have someone in my game who's just who tries to win the game and is just being passive aggressive and just slightly toxic by being pissed whenever he talks to you, I just try my best to ignore it, because you have to realize at the end of the day, people like this who are just annoyed and pissed off but still give information, they just want to win the game. Like, at the end of the day, they just want to win the game, but they're probably pissed off because something happened before, or they have a bad day, or they're on a huge loss streak. But, you know, at the end of the day, they also want to win the game, and that's the only thing that you have to realize. If someone like this is in your game, he probably just wants to win the game, but he has a bad day, he is pissed off. Just try your best to ignore him, get the information you need to, because callouts are so crucial in a game like Valorant. And without communication, you have a hard time winning games. So try your best to ignore people like this. Don't mute them. As long as you know, as long as it doesn't impact your gameplay as much, try to ignore it and just focus on getting information. And that is my advice for people who are just passive aggressive but still give information. However, there's also the second case, and that is someone who's just straight up being toxic. Someone who doesn't give a fuck about the game, who doesn't give a fuck about how the game ends, if he wins or loses. A person who just wants to be annoying and ruin your game. People like that, everyone gets them. We can't do anything about it but report it. And the thing you should do immediately when you see people like this, just mute them. Don't waste your time listening to these people. If you realize they have nothing to, you know, contribute to winning the game and they're just being annoying, just mute them, because it's not worth listening to them and getting pissed off. Because once you start to get pissed off by toxic people, you slowly start to become toxic yourself, and that impacts your gameplay in a very bad way. So what I advise you guys to do with straight up toxic people is just to instantly mute them. Don't even try to talk to them and ask them why they are toxic like that. If you want to grind, just focus on your grind, you know, because at the end of the day, you need to remember, guys, that like most of us just queue up to win games and, you know, just get the highest rank possible. So if you see someone in your game who's just being straight up toxic and who doesn't care about winning or losing the game, you should just mute them straight up and just try to ignore what he does and just focus on your own gameplay, because at the end of the day, you just want to improve, and it has such a bad impact if you get influenced by toxic people. So just try your best to mute them as fast as possible and ignore them. And this is honestly the best thing you can do whenever you see someone who's being toxic. However, as I said before, you always need to differentiate between people who are being actually toxic as fuck and people who are just pissed and still try to win the game, because that can make a huge difference in terms of like getting information and don't getting information, which can be crucial in terms of like winning games. And the third point I want to talk to you guys about is actually it's quite a simple point that not many people do because they have an ego, but if you have people in your team that are just being annoying and toxic, even if you mute them, try to help them, because you don't know how many games I won because I dropped a gun for a teammate, for example. Even if he was toxic and, you know, just being straight up annoying, if I dropped them the gun, they would go and win rounds that I would never expect them to win, just because they had an operator or vandal that they got dropped from me. So what I mean exactly by that is, let's say you have the round is starting and you have like 10k left in your bank, which, I mean, nowadays it's only 9k max, but let's say you have max money and you buy vandal armor and everything on utility and you have still money left, so you can drop your teammate a gun. Most of you guys probably wouldn't, because he just annoyed you so much and he was being so toxic that you think, hey man, I'm just gonna keep the money for myself and buy again next round. But I have had so many rounds in which these exact toxic people run the rounds for me because I dropped them a weapon, which would never happened if I hadn't dropped them a weapon, for example. So what I want to say to you guys is, even if it gets annoying and if they're being toxic as hell, try to ignore your ego and just drop them. Just drop them a gun, because you never know at the end of the day what is going to happen if you drop him a gun. I had a game in which a guy won a 1v3 because I dropped him an operator, and any other gun would have lost him the round, but the operator won him the round because I was like, ah, fuck it, we lost the game anyway, which we actually ended up winning. But the thing is, I thought we lose the game anyway. I was pissed as fuck. I had like 8k over, and I was dropping him an operator, and he actually ended up winning the round. So you actually never know what is going to happen if you be helpful to teammates. You should ignore them and mute them, and you shouldn't talk to them, but always try to be helpful, guys, because you never know what can end up happening if you actually drop them a weapon. And sometimes these people who you think are just being toxic as fuck can still end up winning you the game. So, and that's all that matters at the end of the day, is to win games and rank up. So my third point is always be helpful towards your teammates, even if they are annoying and toxic, with the exception of people who are obviously just trolling. You know, if they're still playing the game, always drop them. And my fourth and last point is that I want you guys to remember that everyone, including me, has just bad days and just bad games in general where they don't hit anything. So I want you guys to remember that when you have a bad teammate who's just pissed and who's just being annoying, that you have these days as well. Maybe you're not as annoying or you're just not as pissed, but everyone just has off days in which they don't hit anything at all, or just, you know, it doesn't even have to be because of the game. You can just have a bad day in queue up and someone's just pissing you off, and then you can get annoying yourself. So I just want you guys to remember that everyone can have a bad day, and that you shouldn't take people all too serious. Try your best to deal with them, and if they get too annoying, you know, just mute them. But at the end of the day, everyone can have a bad day, or just bad games in general. And if we try to you know, at least don't be toxic to each other, I think it can make games that much more easy, especially when we just try to communicate instead of like hating each other. And yeah, that's like my 4 main points that I always try to keep track of when I'm playing, because yes, I'm talking about it right now, but when I'm actually playing ranked, it's actually sometimes so hard to remember all those things, because it's something completely else once you're in game. People can annoy you so fast, but just try to always remember that you don't have to listen to them. You can always mute them, and if they're just you know, being annoying but giving information, you can always just try to, you know, listen for the information and try to ignore everything else. Because you need to remember, guys, at the end of the day, like 90% of the people who queue for ranked, they just want to win the game. So make sure you don't get lost in just being toxic, and always focus on yourself, focus on your own gameplay. Try to ignore everything else as much as possible. Just try to win the game. And yeah, this is obviously just my take on how I would deal with toxicity and, you know, toxic teammates in general. But I think I'm at a point where I can like deal with them in a way in which it isn't as annoying for me anymore, and I can ignore them faster and make the best out of my games compared to like 2 or 3 years ago. So yeah, if you have anything to add, guys, always let me know in the comments down below, and make sure to be subscribed to the channel. We have so many things coming up for the future when the game actually launches. As you guys already know, I also love to do all the skin videos, so we have a lot coming towards that, and, you know, just a whole lot of content once the game comes out on the 2nd. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video, guys, and I see you on the next one.